right, everybody, we're back with another episode of Pristine Connections Podcast. I am Ashley Furr, and I am here with Elizabeth Santamaria. She's our guest today with Northwestern Mutual. You're a financial services consultant, correct?
That's correct.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I'm excited to chit-chat with you about your business services.
Great. Thank you for having me, Ashley. And please call me Liz.
Liz,
if you say
okay.
Elizabeth Santamaria, I'm like,
are you
what
in
did I
trouble?
do?
No,
Yeah,
you're
I'm in
good. Okay, Liz. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a New Yorker living in Dallas, right?
Well, welcome.
Thank you. You guys have been very welcoming. But when I first got here, I was like, you're not from around these parts. I said, no, but I'm here.
But you don't have a thick northerner accent, not accident.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, I think because I'm fully bilingual. So I grew up in Queens, like the most diverse place on the planet. And so I speak Spanish and fluently, but I think that because I was surrounded by so many different accents myself, see, we do it, we're human. I think it kind of made it like neutral for me.
That's really great. So what made you move from New York to Texas?
Family.
Okay.
I was visiting my mom every year, and then I was like, Mom, I want to go to Europe. And she's like, well, if you move here, you could go other places.
Oh.
But yeah, family draws you in.
I understand completely. So have you always been in financial services then, or is this something new?
Actually, no.
Okay.
I love this question. So I had been a corporate professional and had been going up the ranks for many years. And so didn't see myself in this at all. I'm the poet in the family. So what is Liz doing here, right? But for me, what happened was I am a first-gen professional. So I had to help my family retire in the U.S.
Wow.
The first person. So they're like, Liz, figure it out. And so I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so as I was on hold with Social Security for 2 hours, I had many questions, right? And I started writing out these questions like, how are my parents going to retire? And they said they wanted to go home. And in my mind, I'm thinking that's New York. They were talking about DR, Dominican Republic.
I was about to say, where's your family from?
Yeah, so they're going back to Dominican Republic, and I'm like, an international move? Thank God I'm not an only child. I called my brother, was like, okay, you handle logistics. They're going to want to schlep all their stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to handle the finances, so thank God we worked together as a team. And when I was doing that, I was so happy that I was able to be a resource for my family and know that they were going to be okay with their retirement plan, like pulling the 401ks and everything. But then I realized I was a little sad at the same time. And I was like, wow, if I would have done this 10 years ago for them and really become the expert, they would be really well off. So I said, who does this? Who's the best at retirement planning? And Northwestern Mutual kept coming up over and over. So that's basically how that happened for me. I decided to be with the best because I wanted to be the expert. So I got to pay it back for my family. But now I'm in a position to pay it forward and really help my community because there is a need in the Hispanic community and in the first-gen professional community.
Absolutely.
Just you have people from all over walks of life and those cultures. It's like I have two cultures at the same time. I'm a New Yorker and I'm a Latina. And so I know I grab the best of both worlds, but I also know where there's conflict. And so I'm able to translate that for people and understand what it is that they want and how do I get them what they need.
Yeah. So what is your specialty then within the financial, services realm? I know there's so much to it.
Yeah. So I've decided to focus on business owners because a lot of people in my community they're good with risk. Like they left their country.
Yeah.
So they come here and they start businesses.
Yeah.
But then the access and the trust, who can they trust to help them guide and navigate that? I get to be that trusted advisor, that person that's like, hey, fantastic. You keep doing what you're doing. These are the things you need to do as you scale. These are the things that you need to do. This is the tax efficient thing. Oh, by the way, you need a will.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, you need, So all the estate planning, all of that, and who can they trust and who's going to say it to them in Espanol, right? It's me, right? So I get to be that person. And it's really exciting with my team and letting them know that, Liz is going to be there for them. But God forbid I get hit by a bus, my team is going to be there for them for that long journey. It's not just me. That's
really, really, really great. Really inspiring too. So, I mean, Tell me just about the challenges and excitements, really. This was new for you. You really figured it out just by helping your family. So tell us about the challenges.
The challenges of this role is really gaining the trust in the community, because of the cultural differences. They've been burned a lot by people that are not scrupulous and maybe getting them some life insurance that doesn't pay out.
Yes.
Or, not looking out for their best interest. As a fiduciary, I have to look out for my client's best interest, not what's good for me.
Right.
So that's really been something that's been helpful. So that's been really, I think, a challenge to gain people's trust. But I just got to get people to give me 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Like if you give me 5 minutes, you're going to know Liz is on your side. So the
Right.
hardest thing is just give me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You have 5 minutes? Come on, talk
It's
to
the
me.
initial conversation for sure. Talk about, your daily routine. I'm sure you have a daily routine.
Yeah, so for me, it's really about being really intentional with it. I read a really wonderful book recently called The One Thing.
Yes. I feel like everybody needs to read that. I feel like
Yeah.
that's a book of life. Like you have to.
Yeah, and it changed my business. It helped me really focus on what's really most important. I had to learn like the difference between what's urgent and what's important, and figuring that out. And, time blocking.
Yes.
And making sure that I'm focusing on the most important things for myself, for my clients, when to do things, like navigating my own energy,
Yeah.
knowing like this is a really good time in the day for me to do this.
Yes.
And so all that really helped me figure out that time blocking and how to do that and to be really efficient. And, I can't help people. I've got a big heart. So I have to be able to balance what are revenue producing activities because I'm a business owner. And then if I do that, then I'm able to help more people for pro bono things.
Yeah.
So kind of managing that and getting the balance for that.
That's very true. And just learning a work-life balance. I think we get so lost in the hustle and bustle every day of like, okay, I got to do, these top 5 things today. And it's like, oh, wait, but you just get so lost in it. And you never really actually take time for yourself. And I think that's important just to make sure you take time for yourself.
Yeah. And the financial self-care helps,
Yes.
right? When you're able to do that. So that's really fantastic. And I think one of the things, the quote in the book is like, what's the one thing that if you do that would make things easier and everything else unnecessary or something like that. I kept saying over. I was like, oh, I love that. I was like walking around my house saying that.
Just slap it on your mirror on a sticky note every morning. Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, how do I do that? How do I implement that in my business and in my life?
Absolutely. So part of your routine, obviously with that, how does that help you be so extremely productive, especially, as just a business owner?
Right. So then I have to go ahead and do the tasks that I like least earlier in the day.
Yes.
So that's basically because that's when I have the most energy, right, and willpower for. So I schedule my time to do that. Like first thing in the morning, these are the tasks I hate doing. I'm doing them now. And then as the day goes on, I focus on all the things I love doing, which meeting with clients and everything, like I can schedule that in the afternoons because I love that. Like having this conversation with you right now is so fun, right? So I'm so glad it's in the afternoon.
Absolutely. And you're ending your day on a high note. I start off my day working out because I hate it, but I know I need to do it. So
Exactly. So all the stuff I don't like doing, it's early morning.
I totally get that. That's great. That's really great. What's an experience or challenge that you've been through that's kind of helped you be a better leader?
Ooh, I like this one. So when I was a sales coach, I learned something really important. And it was that to view things through the other person's perspective or their viewpoint.
I like that.
Because I am a researcher, and before I give something, I look at different options. I need to feel really confident before I do something, and that's my style. But when I was leading a team, everyone had different demands on how they received information and how I was able to help. And I remember a young lady, she needed help. She was actually on a call, and she was like, Liz, how do I do this? And I was like, so this and this. I was giving her like the whole why. And she's like, just tell me.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, this. And she's like, and she went on and whatever. And so I was felt a certain kind of way, like, but I was trying to help her, but I was trying to help her the way I like to be helped,
Yeah.
not what she needed. And so I reflected on that and I was like, how can I be better for her? And so I created like a whole quick link document for her so that she can click on things. At the time, it was really a big deal. You can click on things and
Yeah.
it would take her straight to that page so she could
Nice.
find the answer. And she was so appreciative. And she went on that month to like have the best numbers on the team.
Oh, good.
And so for me, that really taught me something about leadership. It's like, make sure that you articulate and do things the way they need it. It's not about you.
Yeah, I love that. So you were a coach before you got into this then?
Yes,
Okay.
I was a sales coach. I did a lot of things. I was, sales. I did sales for a long time. I became then a sales like trainer,
Mm-hmm.
and then I worked as a recruiter, and then I also worked as a bilingual. I created like a bilingual training system for a company. So I've worn a lot of hats.
Yeah, that's amazing. But it's helped you, I mean, get to this role, which you're obviously succeeding in, which is absolutely great. What's been or who or what is your biggest inspiration?
Oh wow. So my one thing is truth. I really the person that I am is because of the faith that I have. So, I am a Jehovah's Witness. So I believe in Jehovah God and he's the creator. So he's my inspiration. He is love.
Yeah.
And so if you go to my LinkedIn page, you'll see that I believe the biggest, the strongest force in the universe is love. And so if you tap into it, like everything is possible because people will do for love what they will not do with in fear. People will die for love,
Yeah.
right? And so that's my biggest inspiration and like it's the core of my life. And then everything else fits around it. And so, yeah, I would say that's it.
That's so very different than what I've heard. I feel like this whole time I've done guest host. I love it. That's great. I mean, obviously you have a lot of goals, but really have you thought about like what your end goal is in your career? I mean, what are you wanting to do?
So I love this question because I'm really enjoying my role with business owners and figuring out what their exit strategies are. I meet them wherever they are,
Yeah.
but I feel nobody's talking to them about the end goal because everybody's just trying to grow, grow, grow. And it's like, why are we doing this?
Right.
Like, I want to ask you, like, if you have this business, what's the point? Are you doing this so you can leave it to your kids? Are you doing this because you want to make a lot of money and you're going to sell it at some point? Is this just a means? Like, I've had people that are doing a for-profit business to fund a nonprofit. There's so many different modalities, and I love that because I'm such a creative thinker.
Yeah.
And so it just allows me to like brainstorm with them and like say, okay, what are we doing? Like, right?
Yeah.
How are we going to go ahead? And what impact are we going to do with all this wonderful work that you're bringing and you're creating? And how do we transfer that to the next generation? And that's really important to me. And I'll tell you why. My great grandmother came to this country in the 60s and she didn't speak the language. And she got together with all of her neighbors and they bought the block. They went to the bank and got a loan and they all got shares of this.
Wow.
It was 10 blocks from Columbia University.
Wow.
So it became $1 million property. We saw that Mama Juja, she's a visionary.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how she did that. And then unfortunately, our family lost it because she didn't have a will.
Oh no.
So, but when we were going through her things, we found this is for my son. This is for my daughter, right? And so I'm so proud of her.
Yeah.
I don't want any other family to go through that lack of access
Yeah.
to information. So I just want to make sure that people know why they're doing something and then that they have the proper tools to do what their life's work was meant. And so that they get, at the end, their family get what they want or the organization gets what they want, right? Some people leave things for charitable organizations because that's important to them,
Yeah.
So making sure that people really have impact.
I feel like that's more common these days because growing up, we don't really learn those things in school unless you're taught later on in life where it may or may not be too late. Fortunately, my parents have figured it out from their parents that they need to have XYZ in place. And now I worked for estate planning attorneys before. So I'm like, no. Like we might be in our 20s, but we have a child and a house and all these things. Like we're knocking this out because if we're not here, she's too little and I'm not leaving it up to the state to tell me how, she's going to live her life. So
tell me what you really think, Ashley.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, but it's just preparedness. And I think there's just such a lack of preparedness, and your parents may not have everything to give you, or I mean, in your grandmother's sake, she was giving you a whole block, but that one thing, unfortunately, it drives me insane, honestly. So I love being able to have, guests like you just really talk about that because everybody's just clueless until something happens, really. And then you're like, wait a second, like I could have prevented all of this.
With this form?
Are
you kidding me?
And I think people think it takes a lot of finances to get into that spot to be able to do it, but it really doesn't. And it's like buying coffee every day. Like I'm sure you do the cost comparisons for people all the time. It's like, if you stop drinking coffee every day, like you could do this.
You could go to Europe.
Yeah, you could go to Europe for sure. I don't know. Plane tickets are insane. I've looked.
Off peak.
I know. Everybody always says there's certain times of the day, and I'm like, I never catch those. Is there anything else that you'd like to share that you think the viewers should know, about financial services?
I just think, I was just talking to my cousin before here, and we were laughing because I just think that life goes by so fast.
Yes.
Your cousins are your first friends.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so she said something that I won't forget. She's like, the other day we were like playing together in the basement, and now we're like, we need to have a will. Like, right, we're at that place, we're like, oh my God, do we have stuff in place, right? Yeah. And it's like, what? We were just playing together like 10 minutes ago. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
And so life goes by so quickly. And, the time value of money is a thing. Mm-hmm. Your money is worth more today than it will be in the future. Like, there's so many things that if we don't leverage right away, that wrinkle in time is gone and you're not going to be able to do anything about it in the future. So, be a little uncomfortable today so that you can feel really good in the future.
I love that. I hope my friends are tuning into this because I've been trying to explain this to them.
Yay. And you know what? You can't be a prophet in your own land, I hear.
I know.
So, you tell them to call me and, I'll send them to your friends who are estate planning. We'll have fun.
I know. That's really the big one. I don't even think it's financial services. It's estate planning. They just get scared that something's going to happen to them if they do it. And I'm like, y'all have got to let that fear go.
Well, the thing about things is that people, they try to do everything. Like they think about planning and they take all the chunks too much. But there's really like 4 phases to it. Like phase 1 is protect what you have. Mm-hmm. Phase 2 is grow what you have. Phase 3 is use what you have. And then decide, legacy planning is give away what you have to who you want.
Yeah.
So it's really simple. Like if you break it down like that, and you don't have to do it all in one day, but you have to start today.
Right.
So that okay, this is where we are.
Yeah.
What should we do first? And that's like figuring out what's urgent and what's important.
Absolutely. I love that little bit of a golden nugget to take away. How can our viewers reach you? We'll make sure we get it added to the podcast episode.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Just look me up. I'm always on LinkedIn for this stuff because it's really important. So look me up on LinkedIn. I'll have, my phone number and email. So send me a message. And I'm really available. I really want to help our community be in a better place than when we decide to embark the journey together.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you next week.